Good morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the 8th Plot, where I'm going to continue reading to you from my book, Stolen Futures. If you want to know more about the book, or the universe of the Arkonauts, go to my official website www.mdrury.co.uk. Or if you wish to get the whole series, because you like what I read to you, head to Spaceboy Books at readspaceboy.com. Today's chapter is a little different from the others you've heard so far. The books in this series have chapters that are still written from Callum's POV. However, they are of him describing something in the past, as opposed to continuing the present storyline. A sort of flashback that gives you, the reader, a little bit more context to the events as they happen in the main storyline. This is one such chapter. Let me know what you think of today's chapter in the comments. Enjoy! The past. The thief comes crashing down. 7 years ago. On the day the Ark landed, I was just 8 years old. Back then, I had very little concerns in life. The world was still a normal place, with its daily routine of schoolwork, holidays, the government, sport, free time, and eating and drinking. I wish I could say that I was clued into what was going on in the world. However, I confess to not having a clue about the daily issues. In hindsight, I needn't have wasted my time reading newspapers or watching the news anyway. All those problems the world had are now over. Global warming, gone. Terrorism, gone. These things are irrelevant in my current predicament. I remember the day very clearly, however. Well, who wouldn't? My dad told me that when he was very young, about my age, he watched a terrorist attack involving planes and remembered everything about that day. And so it was with me when aliens made contact with the human race for the first time. It was not the kind of contact we were expecting. Long before the Ark landed, it was spotted by NASA and the European Space Agency. The TV reported the discovery as the passing of a very large asteroid near to Earth, which was understandable. The giant vessel was covered in rock and ice as it approached our home world over the course of 2 months. Documentaries were hastily put together on the appearance of such a large lump of rock. Tabloid newspapers put out headlines like "Near-Earth collision possible, end of the world?" and so forth, just to drum up public panic and interest in the story. No one was frightened, though. Every scientist worth their PhD said it was going to pass by us harmlessly. I heard about it, of course, but it was hardly worth my time. I had computer games to complete. The thing only appeared in the skies for 8 days, when it was close enough to the planet. When I first saw it in the sky, it was a boring sight. Just another light at night, and during the day it looked like a plane that wouldn't move in the sky. However, it was kind of a new friend. I would look up and feel comforted that it was there, like we had somehow obtained a new moon. On its final day in our skies, a special late-night show was on, as the asteroid was going to pass behind a full moon, and the possibility of it hitting our natural satellite was still feasible. I was ignoring the spectacle. I was only 8 years old, and space was not a particularly interesting place for me. Humanity at that time was not seriously considering space travel anymore. The Mars landings had not been followed up due to cost and lack of real results. Plus, as I'm sure you know, space is vast, and what's the point of crossing it if you couldn't cross it fast enough? My mum, however, came into my room and practically dragged me downstairs to watch, and managed to entice me when she said that the moon might blow up under the impact. And so I watched the show and waited patiently for the asteroid to first disappear behind our natural satellite and then to reappear a few seconds later, which it did. My parents were excited and a little relieved. No one lived on the moon, so what did it matter if it was hit anyway? I was the only one in our house to notice something off about it, though. It was no longer streaking across the heavens. Instead, it looked like it had stopped completely on the far left-hand side of the moon. I may have been wrong, but it also looked like it was getting bigger. The presenters on the show hadn't noticed, and they instead talked about how it was a rare astrological feature not seen in a generation. It was then one of them put their finger to their ear to receive a message from the production crew. Then panic and fear started to spread. "Oh no, should that be happening?" the presenter said to a scientist who had joined them in the studio. Those were the kind of words you shouldn't say live on air. The scientist looked behind him at the big screen showing a telescopic close-up of the asteroid. The asteroid was getting larger, and it was shedding ice and rock that was falling into the gravity well of the moon. The close-up showed impacts on its surface. No, it should continue on, following this path, the scientist said, and traced the predicted path of the asteroid with his finger. By now, I was picking up on the fear my parents were feeling. Mum tapping at the chair's arm, Dad peering into the television intently. It seems as though the asteroid has changed course, the astronomer said in surprise. That's not possible. How can it do that? He added. Then the program stopped, the screen flashed, and the words "Breaking News" appeared. This is an emergency broadcast. Asteroid M5437 has changed course and is now heading directly for planet Earth. We advise everyone to seek shelter immediately. This is an emergency broadcast. As the news broadcaster repeated his message, my father plucked me from the sofa and rushed me, Mum and Jack into our basement. What's going on? I said. My father didn't respond. My dad just went back upstairs and returned carrying bottles of water and crisps. We sat down in the basement. I could hear screaming outside in the street. My dad took out his mobile phone and brought up the news channel. Greg, don't! My mum scolded him. We have to know what's going on, he protested. The same news channel we had been watching appeared on the mobile phone screen, and we gathered round. New images were displayed, showing the asteroid heading for Earth. The reporters were trying to say something constructive on the situation, but how do you report on a disaster of that magnitude? The asteroid entered the atmosphere, and huge amounts of fire obscured it from view. Rock and vaporized water left a thicker trail of debris in its wake. If you live in the northern hemisphere, find shelter immediately, the news broadcaster said. The images turned to a satellite in orbit tracking the asteroid. The shots were above the Atlantic, and they zoomed in on the falling rock. It was heading for Iceland. Horrified gasps and statements came from the presenters. As cameras in orbit followed the asteroid as it moved closer to Iceland, we could see ships leaving the island. The wake of the various vessels gave the island the appearance of a jellyfish. Then came the impact. The phone vibrated in my father's hand as the thunderclap of the asteroid's impact in our atmosphere was piped through the news cameras to us. Then the whole house vibrated as the rumble reached us in real time. I screamed. Mother held me and Jack tight. "It's okay, boys, it's okay," I remember her saying softly. We all saw the asteroid strike Iceland with colossal force, and the impact created a flash of light that momentarily obscured the camera's view. The images then changed to a much closer view of the island. These appeared to be taken from a plane flying off the coast. It was a wide-angled shot, showing a shower of water and rock falling into the Atlantic. A tidal wave was issuing forth from the island, the water pushed forwards by the creation of a crater caused by the asteroid impact. The debris began to clear, and I expected to see a massive hole in the ground. "This isn't right," the scientific advisor on the news program said. "An impact of that size would have affected us by now. Where's the explosion? The debris field would not clear so quickly." There was no hole in the ground. What I saw instead, what the whole world saw, had pierced the crust of the earth, not smashed into it. It now sat in the very centre of Iceland, like a newly formed mountain. It was not an asteroid anymore. It was a ship. Thank you for listening to this chapter from Stolen Futures. Please like or comment on this video, and subscribe to The Eighth Plot so you don't miss out on the next instalment of this book. Goodbye.